As the pandemic is progressing, a crucial concern is to determine how long people exposed to SARS-CoV-2 will make neutralizing antibodies against this virus. Finding the answer is hypothetically complicated as variants of concern are appearing around the world that could find ways to dodge acquired immunity, boosting the likelihoods of new outbreaks. The human immune system develops the same antibodies in response to infection and vaccination. People who have had infection and people who receive the vaccine are well protected from same infection in future. In both instances, the body recalls and can quickly generate an immune response to attack the virus if it come across again. Both natural and acquired immunity have pros and cons. Let's discuss what's known about natural immunity versus vaccine-induced immunity for COVID-19. For certain infectious diseases, for which there are vaccines, natural infection produces stronger immunity than the vaccine-acquired immunity. Immunity from disease often follows a single natural infection, but effective and long-lasting immunity from vaccines usually occurs only after several doses. That's the case with chickenpox, for which one needs 2 doses of vaccine for immunity to develop. One explanation for effective natural immunity is that people typically don't develop infection in response to germ combats unless they are exposed to a large quantity of virus or bacteria. The immune system displays a strong response to this high amount of germs, which is responsible for several of the uncomfortable symptoms, such as fatigue, fever, and chills. On the contrary, innumerable germs, such as human papillomavirus, evolve to avoid recognition by the immune system. A strong immune system ultimately clears HPV in 90% of cases, but people who are immunosuppressed are particularly susceptible to long-term infection, as well as reinfection. The main drawback of natural infection is that there's no means to know, in advance, how severe the infection will be. On the other hand, vaccines stimulate the production of antibodies and memory cells needed to battle specific infections. The chickenpox vaccine includes tiny quantities of weakened attenuated chickenpox virus, which are adequate to trigger the immune system to begin cranking out antibodies, but not sufficient to develop chickenpox blisters. Likewise, the polio and influenza vaccines contain dead, inactivated, or killed viruses that can't cause disease, but they kick off the immune system to fight. Even though side effects, such as soreness and fever, are common after vaccination, most people don't feel nearly as awful after vaccination as they do when they contract an infection. In some instances, vaccine-acquired immunity is stronger than natural immunity, such as HPV, tetanus, Haemophilus influenza type B, and pneumococcal vaccines induce a better immune response than natural infection. Scientists are still discovering about natural and vaccine-induced immunity generated against COVID-19. Studies show that the answer to this question will vary based on how antibodies against SARS-CoV-2 were generated in an individual over the course of a naturally acquired infection or from a COVID-19 vaccine. Presently, no data is available about how long protection lasts for those who are vaccinated, as this immunity is not comprehensive, and it is possible to contract COVID-19 after vaccination or an earlier session of infection. However, these cases are not usually serious. Researchers are working to know more about it. Some data indicates that COVID-19 vaccination after infection can polish the immunity. According to several studies, vaccination following COVID-19 recovery boosts antibody production and lessens the rate of recurrence of infection. Another discrepancy is that natural infection only exposes the body to the virus in the respiratory tract unless the illness is very severe, whereas the vaccine is given into muscle, where the immune system may have an even better opportunity of noticing it and reacting vigorously. The good news is, in contrast to the status quo for the common cold, we have now developed multiple COVID-19 vaccines. The indication continues to suggest that acquired immunity from vaccines still presents significant protection against the new variants, now spreading around the world. In a nutshell, acquired immunity is safer than natural immunity. For all vaccine-preventable infections, the probability of developing a serious vaccine-related side effect is much reduced than the risk of serious complications if infected. A person who contracts COVID-19 is at risk of hospitalization and long-term side effects, including post-COVID-19 syndrome. In addition, unvaccinated individuals are more than twice as likely to be reinfected with COVID-19 than those who were fully vaccinated after initially contracting the virus. The optimistic view is that acquired immunity from the vaccines will certainly produce long-lasting protection against SARS-CoV-2 and bring an end to the pandemic. The latest conclusions are pointing promisingly in that direction. They also serve as an imperative reminder to roll up your sleeve for the vaccination if you haven't done it yet, whether or not you've had COVID-19. This will save lives and cut down the prospect of even more emerging variants that might escape protection from the existing vaccines.